Our fourth question concerns representation. Members of several communities have expressed feeling overlooked by the city government. When they ask questions about polling places for upcoming elections, stormwater mitigation, and other significant issues, these residents feel they are often passed off to someone else without ever getting clear answers. Our question to each of you: what specific steps will you take to make sure you hear the concerns of every community so all residents will know they are equally represented? And we're going to start with Ms. Mayoral.
The first place I would start is by pushing for borough voting systems where we have single member voting. I would agree that we have communities in our city that are overlooked. I don't know if it is intentional or not, but there are certainly large clusters of families, communities that have no voice and they need a voice. I don't see a way around that until we change the way we vote. I will certainly advocate for all people. My door will always be open, just like it is in all of my other areas of my life. But that is a small help until we can get to the big fix, which we absolutely need, which would be shifting our voting system to borough represented districts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Ritter.
Thank you, Ms. White. I think it all comes down to the commitment of a member of council, not single member voting. I don't know why any voter in the city would want to take the representation of 7 people away from them. Single member voting, in my opinion, does not keep you accountable to every person in the city. And that is the commitment that we need from our elected officials. Small example. I probably live the furthest away from here of anyone. I live in the Fentress area, almost to Virginia Beach, and yet I visited your neighborhood in Pewsville with our entire city staff, and we were able to get $600,000 worth of work done off the budget because it was needed. It was a legitimate concern. But I live in Fentress, so again, it's the commitment of your council members. I keep passing.
How you doing? Okay, so yes, I do echo the need for borough representation. I think that's going to be important to getting things done. But also, open door policy, come talk to me. And I'm not going to be like Mr. Krasnoff and be able to retain all those different city department numbers in my head like he did. But I will actually try to intercede and help people as much as I can. It's amazing. I've been walking the neighborhoods since late July, and people have shown me some amazing things: potholes and sinkholes and ditches that are full and all kinds of craziness. And there's definitely a feeling that some areas are not represented. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, there is a shortage of revenues to fix all the problems in our city. And so whatever district you live in, or whatever neighborhood you live in, there are streets that still need repairing, the flooding needs to be taken care of. I don't think that it's just in 1 or 2 or 3 areas. If you really doubt that you're not being represented, here's a document that's created by our Economic Development Office that shows the amount of money that's spent in 6 different neighborhoods. And I can tell you, if you look at that, it's hard to argue that the city at large is not being treated fairly. I do believe that Mr. Ritter is right, that we as a council member and the council in general are committed to listening to people. We're going to listen to them, not to them.
Mr. Ray?
go back to what I said earlier. A council person should possess three traits: heart of service, heart of leadership, heart for people. If you are wanting to be confined in one area, this might not be the job for you. First of all, pie in the sky, you can't get it done until you change the city charter. So that's number one. So that's just pretty much, that's the law. The second thing is that the way you make sure that you have, I watch this council. This council goes everywhere. Every council member is everywhere. You cannot call a council member, but and not get them. Consider this: if we were in the system, I represent Indian River. It would be called district. I represent that district. There's something that's going on out in Great Bridge. I care nothing about that because at that point now we're only confined to our one area. If I don't feel that's important, you have other council members that are going to vote against that. But this is something that is very important to you. You don't see eye to eye, which means I'm not accountable to your voters. You have to be accountable to your voters, and in order to have heart of leadership, heart of service, heart for the people, that means you have to be accountable to all the people that you serve, and that's everyone in the city. So my plan is pretty much just go everywhere and be everywhere.
You know, when I first joined council, I was on the at-large voting train. I love the fact that I could go to Western Branch. I love the fact that I can go to South Norfolk. I love the fact that I can go to Hickory and help the people with the issues that they had there. But here's what I learned. I mean, one panelist already mentioned it. Early on in my council, my time on council was brought to our attention that they were dealing with some flooding issues in the area of Pewford. And when we went out to look at those flooding issues, we found out that they have been dealing with those issues for decades, for a very long time. And one member on council said Pewsville is the area that time forgot. Why? Because the council members who are in charge of the Western Branch or represent the Western Branch area, one of them is a working professional who's been spending most of their time at work, and the other has a schedule that is a ninth wonder of the world. Neither one of those two individuals spend their time in the area where they represent. It's hard to hold somebody accountable for not properly representing you when they're not held accountable to you. We need to move into a ward system. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? It's kind of been muddied up as the... No, ma'am.
Members of several communities have expressed feeling overlooked by the city government. When they ask questions about polling places for upcoming elections, stormwater mitigation, and other significant issues, these residents feel they are often passed off to someone else without ever getting clear answers. Our question to you: what specific steps will you take to make sure you hear the concerns of every community so all residents will know they are equally represented?
Thank you. I've been a businessman in Chesapeake for 39 years now. I have customers all over the city. I'm traveling all over the city. I enjoy the fact that if somebody calls me from Indian River, where I live, calls me and says, hey, I got a problem. Well, what if somebody calls me from Western Branch or Pewsville or Hickory or wherever? I treat everybody the same. I have had so many, I call them councilman-ite meetings, where somebody will come to me and say, you know, I want this rezoning because I want to carve off 5 acres for my daughter to have a house, you know, up the street from me. Planning says I can't do it. So I'll have a meeting where I bring everyone in staff from the city, from planning, from the city manager's office, from permits and development, and everybody sits there, and my first question is, how do we get to yes? And there's no pointing fingers each way, you know, you gotta go to planning, no, you gotta go to development, and we find an answer. That gentleman got his 5 acres for his daughter. It's problem solving. I really don't have a concern with what part of the city you live in. I'm available.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I think it really boils down to a word that's been repeated regardless of the solution that's been proposed, and it's commitment. Over 2 decades ago, I raised my hand on a sworn oath to serve and protect all of the citizens of Chesapeake. I don't care your address, I don't care your age, your gender, your nationality, your race, your religion. All means all, and that's who we serve. And I would rather have 9 people accountable and 9 phone numbers to call than just one. That's just me personally. I believe the goal of the ward system is honorable. I have been researching it so I can have an intelligent discussion on it. I haven't found a city yet that's implemented it, that's been doing as well as Chesapeake. Certainly not a city that's voted the best run city in the state. I haven't found it, but if anybody can send it to me, I'm open for discussion on it. But at this point, it's interesting to me that the voters have achieved almost the ward system organically. Realize that we have members of council in Western Branch, in Deep Creek, in Greenbrier, in Hickory, in Great Bridge. We don't have an elite class from one little small portion of the city representing you. Thank you.
Mrs. King.
Well, I'm going to agree with a lot of what's been said. I think it's sad that there are citizens who live in this city who feel that they're overlooked and that their voices aren't heard. Because as it stands, every single council member, all 9 of them, are responsible for every single citizen in this city. And so if we have needs that aren't being addressed, that's very sad. When it comes to the single member voting district, I see where it could have some advantages, but that does not excuse the fact that today, as it stands, with the city at large, every citizen's needs should be met and every citizen should be heard. So it's a matter of commitment, it's a matter of who you elect